They say a just man falls 7 times and rise up again. Up again, up again. They say a just man falls 7 times and rise up again. Up again, up again.
So the lesson today is titled, Stay Sober and Endure Responsibly. So we all like to think of ourselves as being sober, right? Anybody not sober over here? Just checking. Stay sober and endure responsibly. What does it mean to be sober? All right. What does it mean to be sober? This lesson is courtesy of Deacon Siobhan and part of our spiritual exercise lessons. All right, there was a lesson done by Deacon Siobhan many years ago called The Doorways to the Temple. And so on, you can find it on GOCC NYC YouTube channel. And it goes into our various body parts and how they impact us spiritually. It's a very, very, very excellent lesson, good lesson. I encourage everybody to watch it. It definitely goes into some of the Eastern manipulation of our records, like Buddhism and chakras and where they kind of get all that from. A lot of it comes from our Hebrew writings. All right. So what we can find in our 12 patriarchs, this book here, preferred translation is by R.H. Charles, is that the liver for wrath, the gall for bitterness, right? So when you are a wrathful person, you harbor a lot of bitterness, right? It impacts your liver and it impacts your gall, okay? And the reins, right? But before I get there, the spirit of fighting in the liver and gall. That's from Reuben, right? One of the patriarchs. The spirit of fighting, right? Naphtali writes in the Testament, Naphtali says, the reins are for prudence. Prudence meaning judgment, right? Being diligent, things of that nature, right? So when the Most High says he's going to try the reins, right? He's going to try our judgments, our prudence, our diligence, right? Let's talk about reins for a minute here. So this is a noun. If we can read the first definition.
Often reins, a leather strap fastened to each end of the bit of the bridle by which the rider or driver controls a horse or another animal by pulling so as to exert pressure on the bit.
And we went over this in the meekness lesson, right? So reins is to control, right? To control yourself, right? Let's keep going. The class is ready.
Second definition for rein, any of certain other straps or thongs forming part of a harness as a check rein.
Mm-hmm.
Definition number 3, any means of curbing, controlling, or directing, check, restraint.
Restraint, right? So your reins are to exercise a form of control, right? Over your weaknesses, your passions, your desires, so on and so forth, right? We have to be able to constrain those things, restrain them, right? Because if we don't, we can be led astray, right? Let's read the last definition.
Reins, the controlling or directing power, the reins of government.
The reins of government, right? So we get the idea here. It's about controlling your weaknesses, right? Your emotions, your feelings and things of that nature, right? Your judgment, right? Now, this is the Strong's definition for the word sound mind that we read of in First Timothy, right? So let's read this definition.
This is G4995, sophronismos, and admonishing or calling to soundness of mind, to moderation and self-control, self-moderation, discipline, i.e. self-control, sound mind.
Right, so when we read in Timothy, it says that Christ gave us a sound mind, right? Which encompasses all these things, right? Moderation, self-control, right? Discipline, right? So if you have a sound mind and you're operating in Christ, you should be exuding these qualifications, right? They should be embedded within you. It should not be a point where you lose control or you're not moderate, right? And we can think about this in along the lines of drinking. Let's read the next definition. This is for the word sober.
Sober is G3525, nefo, to be sober, to be calm and collected in spirit.
Calm and collected in spirit, right? So a lot of times we think of sober as, just abstaining from alcohol. Not so. It also means to be calm and collected in spirit, right? Keep going.
To be temperate, dispassionate, circumspect, of certain affinity, to abstain from wine, keep sober, i.e., be discreet, be sober, watch. So there are a number of different definitions for sober, right? But it all kind of correlates one to another, right? Yeah, you can abstain from wine or strong drink, of course, right? But it also means to be calm and collected in spirit. So when there's tragedy that happens, when you're going through a trial, right? You're being chastised, you calm, you're not panicking, right? I just imagine we're called to be this in the face of Jacob's trouble that's coming, right? That's not going to be for the faint of heart. It tells us in Jeremiah 30, verse 7, that it's going to be like a time that we've never seen before. Wars, rumors of war, pestilence, famines, all these things are going to be taking place, but we have to be calm and collected in spirit, right? Not panicking. Be of strong faith, right? Now, let's read the book of Matthew, chapter 24. We're going to start at verse 1. The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 1 through 7. And Yeshua went out and departed from the temple, and the disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yeshua said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down.
Come on.
And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Yeshua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you.
That's the first thing. Take heed that no man deceives you. Right? Come on.
For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
And so deceive many. So lots of times we think about the scripture and we start looking for someone that's claiming to be Christ. It's not necessarily so. You can be claiming to be a Christian. That's Christ's name or anointed in it, right? So many can be deceiving, claiming to be followers of Christ, right? Come on.
And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars.
Don't we see this now? Right? It's happening right now. Come on.
See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Mm-hmm.
For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there should be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places.
Now, this is not going to happen over the span of like 6 months, right? This is going to be over a period of time. And Christ is saying, when you see these things happen, the famine, we're entering into a famine now, right? Stores aren't stocked like they used to be, right? The president is warning of a famine due to the war in Ukraine and all these things, right? So this is beginning to take shape, right? Pestilences, right? Earthquakes in diverse places, right?
And when he says like take heed, let no man deceive you, think about like right now, in this point in time within the past couple of years, it seems like new doctrine after doctrine after doctrine keep coming up. And the people that was once that you thought was strong and let's say strong in the doctrine of what we've learned, strong in this doctrine that we've learned, and which is, you know, they've gone off, or like Brother Howard, they was never on. But what they do is they try to deceive me, because wow, they'll go off for itching ears and itching wandering eyes. They'll go off and get into another doctrine, then bring it back into the doors of the Gathering of Christ Church and say, you know what?
Right.
This is it right here. This is new thing. The deacon or the elders, they ain't teaching on this. But meanwhile, we'll continue congregating, trying to deceive many. So that's why Christ really dropped that, like, beware, take heed, that no man deceive you. And the only way you're going to be able to see that is if you're sober-minded, watching.
Exactly.
Watching, seeing this doctrine line up with the doctrine that you came into the truth with.
What do we call that in the scriptures? And if somebody is bringing in a different doctrine other than what you have learned. Heresy, right? So what's the judgment for heresy? Yes. Thought somebody had their hand up. What's the judgment for heresy? Anybody know? Anybody know the scripture? Man, I be teaching. I be going hard, man. Oh, so Uriah teaches the heresy lesson for the baptism class. So the judgment for heresy is death. So that's why, you know, when these things happen, you know, we try to be very careful, because, you know, this is when people oppose themselves, right? And not understanding really the judgment that they're rendering upon themselves. The Bible is very cut and dry, right? So let's continue, verse 8.
Verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended.
Now we went through what it means to be offended, right? To be offended means to get you to distrust those who you should trust, right? That's what it means to be offended. Right now, I'm telling you this from a worldwide church perspective. We are living in a time of offenses now. People are being offended, right? So what does that mean? So this, you know, I'm going into this constantly, right? Because we really we got to get prepared. We got to step it up. Matthew 18. You got an issue with your brother, take it to your brother, take it to your sister. Get it done now. Don't wait a month, don't wait a week. Don't let the sun go down in your wrath. Deal with that. Because the offenses now are mounting, and that's because we're living in the times of prophecy. We're living in the days of prophecy. It tells us that the release of the Shittim and Shaddim and the Chittim, right, which are the specters in the Chittim, right? Demon spirits, right, are going to be released, right, causing these offenses. So we have to be steadfast, right, more than ever. Let's keep going.
Book of Matthew chapter 24, the in the middle of verse 10,
Mm-hmm.
and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many.
Right?
And
We seeing this now. We're seeing this now. And it's getting bigger, and it's getting bigger, and it's getting bigger. Right? And this is why, I have been, as of late, right? I've been really trying to focus on the most vulnerable of the congregation, because I understand that it's vulnerable, and I want to do my best to protect you, gird you up, right? So when I focus on single sisters, right, who may not recognize that their head is the leadership of the church, you get trapped. These heresies are gripping you first. And that's concerning. So we have to do our best to sort of, let you know that, listen, if someone's coming to you with a heresy, that could be a stumbling block, right? Bring it to your local leadership. Talk about these things. Don't let these things fester around. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm literally seeing souls getting snatched, right? And I've been talking to a number of single sisters about a particular heresy. And I'm asking the question, like, what was convincing about it? And people don't know. They don't know if it's the music in the background or it's the way he's talking, but it just sounds convincing. Soul snatched, right? No evidence, no proof, things of that nature. So we have to be very careful, right? This could be straight up sorcery, because it doesn't make any sense. I've talked to brothers from Jersey to the Bronx to Brooklyn to Connecticut to Syracuse, and every time they get approached with this heresy of South Africa, they laugh at the scorn, because it's ridiculous. But it's not so with the single sisters. Their souls are getting ripped out of their chest. So I'm saying these things to protect you. We are living in these days. It's no mistaking. And I'm afraid to even say, when you go into prophecy, single sisters are getting pulled out from the head or the hedge of protection of the church. The prophecy is not a good one. Because what does the prophecy say? You're going to be searching for a head. You got pulled out, but now you're looking for a righteous man to protect you. And you ain't going to find him because you left. That's your prophecy. All right? Let's keep going.
Verse 12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold.
Happening now. Come on.
But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
He that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. You have to endure through all of this. The offenses, the love of many waxing cold, right? And we have all the tools in the book. We have everything that we have. All we need is the book to resolve any problem, no matter how convoluted, how complicated, how wicked or evil the issue is, or whatever the case may be. We have everything we need to resolve any problem known to man. But are we doing all that's necessary to do that? That's the question, right? The title of the lesson is Stay Sober and Endure Responsibly, right? First Thessalonians chapter 5.
The book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day shall overtake you as a thief.
Right, it shouldn't overtake you that's in the truth. When Christ comes, it's going to be right on time, alignment with the scriptures, right? You saw the signs, right? You made it to the wilderness. You chased out of there. You in Jerusalem, right? You're still under attack by these super soldiers that we read of in Joel chapter 2. They're scaling walls and doing all this stuff, right? And then the day of the Lord. But it's not going to overtake us as a thief because we know we sober, right? Keep going.
Verse 5. You are the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober.
Watch and be sober, right? What does that mean, right? Not being wrathful, right? Being prudent, right? Controlling your weaknesses, your passions, your desires. That's what it means to be sober, right? We're not just talking about, not picking up a drink. We're talking about being sober-minded, right? Keep going.
For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for a helmet, the hope of salvation. For I have not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation.
You see that? He has not appointed us to wrath, right? So if we're going to sleep at night and we got an issue with a brother or sister, be it whoever it is, the Most High has not appointed us to that. There's no reason why we should not be resolving these things expeditiously, right? We got all the tools. He that is spiritual, restore him in the spirit of meekness, right? Lest you also be tempted. Come to your brother and sister, be meek, be humble, right? If you're not humble to begin with, how are you gonna resolve anything? You're just gonna have two heads butting against each other, right? Let's keep going.
But to obtain salvation by our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach, who died for us, that whether we wake or sleep, we should live together with him. Wherefore, comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as also you do.
Even as also you do. To be sober, right, means to be calm and collected in spirit. It means to be temperate, dispassionate, and circumspect, right? Are you calm? Are you collected in spirit? Let's go to Luke chapter 12.
The book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 37 through 40. Blessed are those servants whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find watching.
Watching, right? Being awake, being sober, being aware, right? Come on.
Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them.
Right? Imagine, right? Blessed are the servants of the Lord when he comes, shall find watching, right? Don't you want that glass of wine that Christ's going to serve? That's the feast of all feasts, right? Keep going.
And if he shall come in the second watch, or come in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. And this know, that if the good man of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched, and not have suffered his house to be broken through. Be ye therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when ye think not.
Right. So we don't know when he's coming. And also, when you go into the scriptures and talks about the day of the Lord, there are several days of the Lord. And usually that day of the Lord is referring to a great day of judgment, right? So when Babylon is judged, that's going to be a day of the Lord, right? So there's going to be several days of the Lord that are up ahead when prophecy is fulfilled. We have to be mindful. We have to be aware. We have to be sober-minded, right? All right. How many people in here took a shot of pride this week? All right? 2 shots, 3 shots. Let's see what pride does, right? Romans chapter 12.
Shot of pride. Romans chapter 12, verse 1 to 3. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Ahiah, that you present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High.
Right, we have to prove that daily, right? Now, here's the problem. A lot of, especially our mainstream Christian brothers, they don't understand or know what the will of God is. The will of God is fulfilling his commandments. It's every commandment that's written of in this book, right? We have to show and prove that on a daily basis, right? Let's keep going.
For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think.
Prideful, come on.
But to think soberly.
Think soberly, right? Don't get too high-minded. Don't think because you know a little bit of information more than your brother or sister, now you better than them, right? Or because you in this walk and you're choosing to follow Christ, now it puts you in a position higher than other people. No, you're not thinking soberly. Now you took that shot of pride. You're a little tipsy now, right? You're stumbling. We can't do that, right? Keep going.
According as the Most High have dealt to every man the measure of faith.
The measure of faith. Now here's the thing. What comes before destruction? Pride, right? You take that shot of pride, now you puffed up. What they call it, drunk courage, right? Now you talking reckless.
Yeah, say things you don't normally say.
Right? Talking reckless now. And you're wondering why people don't want to listen or hear the truth from you, because that pride, you don't took that shot. You gotta get sober, right? Let's talk about the doctrine of intoxication, right? Got people woozy, right? Stumbling, tripping, falling. Acts chapter 26.
The doctrine of intoxication. Acts chapter 26, verses 24 through 25. And as he thus spake for himself, Festus said with a loud voice, Paul, thou art beside thyself.
You beside yourself, Paul. Get a hold of yourself, right? Come on.
Much learning doth make thee mad. But he said, I am not mad, most noble Festus, but speak forth the words of truth and soberness.
Speak forth the words of truth and soberness, right? It's about being sober. Sober meaning soundness of mind, moderation, self-control, right? Calm and collected in spirit, temperate, circumspect, right? That truth is sober, right? It's easy. And if it was a shot, it go down smooth, right? It's not like something like, you're just in agony, right? That's not the truth, right? When you heard the truth, it didn't hurt you, right? It blessed you, right? So the truth, words of truth are sober. 2 Timothy chapter 4.
The book of 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 1 through 5. I charge thee therefore before Ahiah and the Lord Yeshua Christ, who shall judge the quick and the dead of his appearing and his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant in season.
This is our responsibility, right? To a certain degree, everyone has to be apt to teach, right? You got to be able to share the good news with a brother or a sister or whomever, right? You have to be apt to teach, right? Instant in season. Come on.
Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove.
Which means to correct. Come on.
Rebuke. Exhort with all long suffering and doctrine.
See, long suffering is the fruit of the spirit. And that's not easy, right? If we're dwelling in the flesh, it's not easy. But you got to be long suffering with your brother and sister. You got to be patient, You got to know how to play the long game. Christ has been playing the long game with us for a long time, Most High, right? Waiting for us to come around. He waited to the last days for this truth to be proliferated throughout the earth, as prophecy told us, right? He will raise up the dead bones. But we had to go through all them curses first, right? Most High had to turn his head, long suffering. But now that we received this truth, we got to run with it, speak it, be sober-minded, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 3. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine.
When they will not endure. They will not endure. Right? And this is what keeps me up at night. Right? Knowing that, I'm haunted by the words, like a remnant is going to see it through. I'm like, why, Lord? Why a remnant? But it's not it's not his will that is only a remnant. That's just what's going to happen, because a lot of us are going to lose the fight. Not sober. We're going to get plucked out through the heresy, not enduring sound doctrine. Right? We get tripped up in the bad situations. We fall out the truth. This is happening. Right? And it's painful to watch. It really is. Let's keep going.
The middle of verse 3. But after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers, having itching ears.
Itching ears. That's the first thing. Right? I don't care how. See, you can't sit at the table. You at the table, right? It's either going to be Christ or Judas. Like, which one are you? You understand? And what happens a lot that I see more and more is that we put friendship before Christ. And that's our biggest downfall. Because we cool, yada, 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 all that stuff. But when they go off, we allow them to pull us down. Instead of standing on Christ, and nah, you got to check that. Because if you stand on Christ, you can save that person. But instead, you allowed yourself to get pulled down. Now you caught up in it. Right? So we have to be, I'm telling you this. You can judge a lot. Like, somebody asked me this question. They were like, why is it that I'm drawing this certain type of people towards me, right? And that's a fair question. And that's just the adversary trying to test you. You know what I'm saying? But it's another thing to constantly be in company of people who are, operate in a certain way. Then you have to look in the mirror like, what? This, how am I at this event and no one in here went to Passover last year? That's weird. Pass me a drink, right? This goes over your head. Like, how is this clicked up here? It's little things like that. You just gotta sit back and you just gotta analyze. Like, how did I get drawn into this? Saying that, right? Because we have to start thinking on a deeper level, right? And sometimes if someone you know and love goes off and becomes a heretic. Listen, I've survived many heresies in this church, but I never came to this church for anybody but Christ. So I don't care who fought. You see me come to church the next week, my wife ain't here, and she fell to a heresy or something, I'm gonna be here. You understand? You have to be tested and show and prove that your primary reason for being there is for Christ. That's it. If you put anybody else before him, you're prone to fall for anything. And that's the problem, right? And so analyze your friendships. Understand who you're friends with. Understand what a friend is according to the Bible, right? If your friend hates the church, Then what type of friend you got? Are you sure you got a friend? Let's keep going.
And they shall turn away their ears from the truth
Mm.
and shall be turned into fables.
Turned into fables, right? Come on.
But watch thou in all things,
Mm.
endure affliction,
Come on.
do the work of an evangelist,
Come on.
make full proof thy ministry.
Make full proof of thy ministry. Right? Full proof of thy ministry. So what's the first thing Satan wants to do? I gotta snatch your ministry from you. You may not even know what your ministry is. You may have a purpose down the line. Satan, no, I gotta get this guy out of here. Because he gonna do this down the line and I'm finished. Right? Don't let anybody take your ministry from you. Continue to do the work. Endure afflictions. Be sober-minded and watch. And if you want to save your brother and sister from falling off, you should be the first one in meekness to restore that person. The first one. Let's keep going. 1 Peter chapter 5. We're actually almost done. It's a short lesson.
Book of 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6 through 10. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of a higher, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour.
So he's going to go after the weakest first. That's what a lion does. A lion just don't attack the whole crew. A lion sit back, he wait for that one person straight off by themselves. Oh, okay. He's going for the easy prey first. That's what the devil do. He also attacks at night. At night or by yourself. That's what lions do. So you need to let people know, listen, you ain't just by yourself. You got a whole body of Christ here to support you. Right? That's what your brother and sister is here for you. But we have to be sober-minded. We have to be vigilant. Right? Vigilant. You can't be anything else other than that, dealing with the adversary. He's been around for 6,000 years, longer. You don't think he know us? Some of us play chess and he playing checkers. Oh, I'm saying, I got to reverse. Some of us playing checkers and he playing chess. He got a snare every which way you turn, right? But we have to be mindful of those snares, right? We gotta leverage and use one another as much as possible, right? Because at the end of the day, we're gonna need each other. And if I can't depend on you and you can't depend on me, we got a problem. Let's keep going.
Verse 9. Whom resisteth steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world.
Who resist steadfast in the faith. That's what you have to be. We had that South Africa heresy get unleashed up in upstate. Brothers ripped it to shreds. Had to move somebody out the way for spreading heresy. Trying to pull people down with them. It's really sad to watch. You understand? It's more sad to see what their judgment is going to be, because that's biblical, all right. You're on the wrong side of judgment when you do things like that. And it's a shame, because we're going to have a whole bunch of sisters out here with no head, hoping that their reproach gets taken from them, but it won't, because the devil was able to lure them out. Did we finish that?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you took a shot of pride. You got a little intoxicated with doctrine, right? Now you blacking out, right? This all types of spirits jumping on you, right? Seven times seven, maybe, right? Can't resolve conflict, always in an issue, right? Now you blacked out. Let's read Mark chapter 14.
The book of Mark, chapter 14, verse 32 through 38. And they came to a place which was named Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, sit ye here while I shall pray. And he taketh with him Peter and James and John, and began to be so sore amazed, and to be very heavy, and said unto them, my soul is exceeding sorrowful unto death. Tarry ye here and watch. And he went forward a little and fell on the ground and prayed that, if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. And he said, Abba, Father, all things are possible unto thee. Take away this cup from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what thou wilt.
It's always about what your will is, Father, right? What your will, no matter what it is. If it means you going through chastisement, going through a trial, being persecuted, let the Father's will be done, no matter what it is, right? And what Satan has been able to do is leverage death, right? To the point that we're all fearful of death, and we don't understand that choked out our faith. Now we have a faithless generation that fears death. So now they're going to take every vaccine that's offered, right? They're going to do everything that the government's telling them to do, right? That's against the will of the Most High, right? Because they have that fear. They're not trusting in the power of the Most High. They're trusting in man, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 37, and he cometh and findeth them sleeping, and said unto Peter, Simon, sleepest thou? Couldest thou not watch 1 hour?
You couldn't watch an hour, right? For some of us, you drank too much, right? You've been dabbling a little bit too much in IUIC, right? And now you coming to work and they like, man, what's this thing? Why you hate Esau so much? What's wrong with you, right? You come in here, why are you so angry, huh? Right? You had too many shots of pride. You can't resolve nothing, right? You always right. Come on.
Verse 38, watch ye and pray, lest ye enter into temptation. The spirit truly is ready, but the flesh is weak.
We have to watch and pray at all times, which includes being sober-minded, lest we enter into temptation. And you can argue that we're not even in the hour of temptation yet. I mean, what's going to happen when we hit that? Lord have mercy. Anything that you have, and this is why feast days such as tabernacles, things of that nature, or this laboring with your brother and sister, getting to know one another is so important. Because when it's just us, that's when all your trauma that you tried to bury is going to come out. That you refuse to deal with, that you refuse to forgive, whatever the case may be. And now it's unleashed on all of us, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 39, and again he went away and prayed and spake the same words. And when he returned, he found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy, neither wist they what to answer him.
So Christ ain't about just sleeping, right? Being blacked out, right? You gotta watch, you gotta pray at all times. And you gotta protect yourself. You gotta protect your vessel, right? If you let the door open just a little bit, you can be snatched. That's a fact. I'm seeing great ones get snatched. So who are we? Who am I? So we are living in this time. I find myself this, it's like more suspensions are coming up, right? No choice. You got to deal with it. You got to be able to judge. If you can't judge the smallest, man, how you gonna judge the greatest, right? But it's things are picking up, and it's letting me know that we're getting close, right? 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 13.
The book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 13.
Uh-huh.
For whether we be beside ourselves, it is to a higher, or whether we be sober, it is for our cause.
So
it's for your cause.
Being sober is for your cause. It's for your protection. Right? And listen, don't get bored. No one's to be bored in this walk. Like, man, I'm learning the same thing. I don't know. Listen, we got to drill things in your mind over and over again until we just fully walking in the spirit. It's necessary. And we got to protect those who remain. Right? Being sober is for your cause. And I'm gonna also say it's for your brother's cause. Because am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. If I'm sober, I'm gonna protect my brother as well. Right? All right, let's talk about the spiritual AA group. Right? You took a shot, you're intoxicated with doctrine, you're blacked out, you ain't watching and praying no more. Right? Now you need some help. Okay? You need that spiritual AA group. So let's read Luke chapter 21.
The book of Luke chapter 21, verse 34 through 36. Verse 34. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life. And so that they come upon you unawares.
Right. So if we get our hearts be overcharged, meaning we are just overcompensating for the cares of this world. So much focus on this world and not on ourselves, not on our spirit, right? Not on the Most High in Christ. We get caught up in drunkenness, right? Not just that drink, physical, but now we drunk in the mind. We don't have a sober mind anymore. We caught up in the cares of this life, right? Who you owe, right? Who's calling your phone every week, right? Right? Let's keep going.
For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth.
A snare is going to come upon all of us. It's already here. We're already dealing with snare after snare everywhere. Right? Come on.
Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass.
You see that? Escape. Escape. Right? When you go into prophecy and Isaiah and things of that nature, it's going to be those who escape the wilderness into Jerusalem. Right? So listen, there's so much that has to be fulfilled. And I don't want anybody to look back and catch themselves in a certain judgment. And then now you realize all you had to do was just have faith. All you had to do was just follow. All you had to do was just forgive. All you had to do was just love. It's going to sound so simple to you while you're facing your judgment for not being about those things, not being sober-minded. That's my biggest fear. So I try to put it all down every minute, every second I have. Every second. Resolve it in Christ. Be in Christ. Right? Because I fear that day of judgment when the Most High is showing me everything I did and didn't do. I don't want to look back and like, man, all I had to do was just pick up the phone. And now, because I didn't forgive him, now the Most High is not going to forgive me. I didn't extend mercy. Now I'm not going to get it. I'm going to regret not picking up that phone. So I don't want any of you to go through that. We have to, as it tells us in John, we have to stand bold on the day of judgment. You want to be assured that you did everything you could, every second that you had, and you allowed the Father's will to be done. You stood fast, right? That's what it's about. Being bold on the day of judgment. Now, I'm not saying be prideful, you know what I'm saying? You want to be like, you want to be assured that, man, you did everything you could, right? And Christ got a smile on his face, right? It tells us in Psalm that he's going to meet you how you were in the world. So if you were always scowling your face, mean and barking, on Judgment Day, he's going to look at you the same way. And you're going to be like, oh, you're going to be scared, because that's not a good look. If he's looking at you like Moses reading the scroll, nodding his head, little smile, man. Now you just looking forward to the feast, right? But take advantage of every second you have and don't waste it, right? And more, it's gonna be all of our collective obedience to this word, right? And being guided is going to see us through it. Those who step out of line, you might not get a second chance with the way things are going, right? So, did we finish that?
Last part, and to stand before the Son of Man.
And
I'll read it. I'll read from the whole thing. Last verse, verse 36. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that should come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man.
And to stand before the Son of Man. Let's go. 1 Peter chapter 4.
The book of 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 8. But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer.
Come on, he keep drilling it home. Be sober, right? Be sober, right? Temperate, calm, collected, right? You're not panicking. You don't have the spirit of fear in you, right? Be sober, watch and pray. Come on.
And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves.
That's love, right? Fervent love. He's giving us, it's so simple, right? Just love one another, right? And the scripture tells us we got to forbear one another in love. It's going to be challenging to love some people, but you got to do it. You have to do it, right? Keep going.
For charity shall cover the multitude of sins.
Right, because the more you love your brother and sister, it's going to cover your sins. We sin every day. You understand? So we need grace to cover those sins, right? Proverbs chapter 10.
Proverbs chapter 10, verse 12. Hatred stirreth up strifes, but love covereth all sins.
Man, it's just so simple, right? It should be easy. Christ said, my yoke is light, my burden is light, my yoke is easy, right? Is it really that hard to love one another? I hope not. Some of us make it challenging. I ain't gonna front. I hope I ain't hard to love. You know what I'm saying? But I try to, I try my best to be me. If I make a mistake, I own up to it. No one's gonna beat me up more than me. You understand? So I make a mistake, I'm steadfast on not making those mistakes again, right? So you won't have to beat up on me. You know what I mean? You can trust that, Deacon, he's gonna get it right. You understand? But I don't know. I just hope that we start emphasizing Matthew 18 more and more. And it just becomes easier to love one another, despite our differences, right? What Christ is doing is unprecedented, right? Bringing Black, Native, Latino families together to be one in Christ, it can only happen by him, Without Christ, it would have been impossible. We fighting with each other, we against each other, all this type of stuff, right? Judah against Benjamin, Benjamin against Levi, Ephraim against Judah. All these things are written of in the scriptures, right? But through Christ, that stick is coming together, right? Let's read.
1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13 through 14.
Mm-hmm.
Watch ye, stand fast in the faith.
Mm-hmm.
Quit ye like men, be strong.
Mm-hmm.
Let all your things be done with charity.
Mm-hmm. Let all things be done in charity. And see, if you can endure this low-level stuff that's happening, right? When that high-tech stuff starts to happen, that spiritual stuff starts to happen, you don't know if Satan's gonna fake a second coming. You know what I'm saying? How you gonna know? You know what I mean? You have to be steadfast. And I mean, he faked. Think about 1948. He tried to make it seem like that was Judah going back into the kingdom, and that was fulfilling prophecy, but it wasn't. So what's to come? You don't know what's going to happen. Well, if you stand firm on these scriptures, be obedient, be in order, you won't be deceived, because the bigger deceptions are coming. The bigger one. This is just the low-hanging fruit. This is just, who's gonna bite? Okay, got him, got her. Okay. But when the big stuff start happening, are you gonna endure through that? Are you gonna remain calm? Are you gonna panic? No, I think the elders got it wrong. No. Right? And that's a big mistake. I think we not everybody makes it, but it's pretty prevalent. I think a lot of times we get a little too confident in ourselves, and we don't think the Most High is dealing with the elders. They Most High is dealing with them like that. We got to do it ourselves. We're gonna flee. We're gonna go to Iceland, right? That's the safe spot, right? We don't think the Most High is dealing with the elders. We get a little beside ourselves sometimes, and so we have to restore that confidence, right? Same confidence that Israel had to have in Moses, right? Same thing. All we seeing is this a redoing over and over again, right? He told us, he prophesied, he's going to give us men, right? Men, right? Second Baruch, so on and so forth, to lead Israel out, not women. So women trying to pull you out to go fend for yourself, something's wrong there. Right? It's really not complicated, folks. All right. Hopefully you're getting sober. You dropped your drink, right? You kicked it, you're like, I don't want no more. Last time I'm ever doing this, I'm not gonna allow Satan to take me, right? I mean, times I've been in that situation, right? Drank a little bit too much, and I'm like, Lord, if you get me past this, I'll never drink again. And see, you have to mean it now, right? You really mean it now that you're gonna be sober. Or are you gonna have them itching ears? You're not gonna be watching and praying. You're not gonna stay steadfast, right? It's your choice. Let's read Titus chapter 2.
The book of Titus chapter 2, verse 11 through 15. For the grace of the Most High that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in the present world, looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing of the great power and our Savior, Yeshua HaMashiach.
Right, looking for that blessed hope, right? Living soberly, righteously, godly in this present world. That's how we become the light to the world, right? We have to live, we have to be that example. How else are we gonna, let our Christ's light shine forth, right? To bid others to the marriage. There's so much elect that's out there that needs to hear this truth. But time is getting shorter. The days are getting shorter. Time is running out. So the question is, are your hands to the plow? Are you living righteously? Are you living soberly? Are you fulfilling your work? Right? Keep going.
Verse 14, who gave himself for us that he might redeem us from all iniquity and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works.
Zealous of good works. Christ is all about good works, right? So we got to think about that. And if you're kind of confused or you're getting caught and trapped in something, think about, okay, how is this fulfilling my work? Because if now the Spirit is on you where you got to corrupt somebody else, is that the work you speaking of? Is that Christ? That's not Christ, right? So we have to have set up little things within our mind to catch ourselves, right? Keep going.
Last verse, 15. These things speak and exhort and rebuke with all authority.
Rebuke with all authority, right? With all authority. We have to, right? Sometimes it's not going to feel good, right? You just got rebuked, right? Might have to happen in front of the whole congregation. I don't know. It says rebuke openly in the book of Proverbs, but knowing, trust that is for your cause. That's to protect you, right? Keep going.
Let no man despise thee.
Let no man despise you, right? So that is the end of the lesson. I pray that it was edifying, that we put in the forefront of our mind, what it means to be sober, how that translates to enduring, right? These days and times, you gotta pick a side. Pick a side. Don't get swayed left to the right, right? Pick a side and rock with it. That's it. That's how you're gonna endure.
They say a just man falls 7 times and rise up again. They say a just man falls 7 times and rise up again.